So I'm going to read some poems for you guys. I'm going to try to start with a fun one, and then you know what usually happens. So we'll see what happens. This one is called Creation Story, and it's after a poem by Natalie Diaz, who's an indigenous writer, contemporary writer. So I'm a lecturer, and I also like low-key bartend on the weekends in downtown LA. So this poem is kind of about bartending, and it's after Natalie Diaz. It's called Creation Story. What if Eve was a bartender, and Adam was her barback, and he was terrible? And each time Eve had to ask him to score the lemons, or pick mint, or stock coupe glasses, or risk control over more than one thing at a time, however small, was one more night he got to remain the father of man. What if Mary was a bartender, and when Gabriel came to visit her twat spot, she was in the walk-in, changing a keg, crawling over all the empty ones, frustrated from the lack of organization most of us learn to ignore? What if God was a bartender with a really good wine key and long arms to reach all the garnishes, and every time she made her signature drink with no name, the mystery kept patrons returning, asking always for that special concoction that tasted like warm blanket and answers and sky? What if the earth was a bartender, and when she was on her second shift, she had to cut humans off because they were too drunk and slurring and hitting on everything they saw and trying to pay their bill for at least 30 minutes and telling the same story over and over and over again? This next poem I'm going to read is about my mom, which I write a lot about. She just never goes away. And when she comes to readings, I'm like, this poem's about my mom. And my mom's like she just tried to get rid of me. You know, she already knows. So this one is about her, and she's from Texas, and my grandparents got divorced when she was 10. She had three sisters at the time. They drove across, ended up in Fresno, being field workers. So 2 words in Spanish, if you don't know Spanish. One is tortilla quemada, which means burnt tortilla. The other one is cara de mierda, which means shit face. It's called I Know the Name of the Desert. There's a desert inside my mother's iris, a flesh-colored truck rambling through miles of packed dirt, where my grandmother is leaving my grandfather driving away with all his daughters. Dirt rises and fails along a road in El Paso, sand freckles underneath tires, 8 small hands wring like rags. My grandma reaches across the cab over 3 of her daughters to slap my mother across her face. She calls her tortilla quemada, cara de mierda, because she has my grandfather's big teeth, wide canyon mouth, cheeks like hot, empty plains. My mother would rather cut off her hands than hit me. She would rather swallow boxed Chardonnay, open her throat like a rusty silo for rain, light a candle for a girl she knows, and turn this evening into a watermelon sliced, a rest stop where she is allowed to play. In her iris, there is a desert. There's a girl who does not cry, a woman who wonders what she did wrong. I am the daughter who walks in a desert to my mother's voice, my own steps sinking, the bottle now in my hand, the vastness, the erosion, the heat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This next poem is also after another contemporary American poet named Fatima Asghar. And this poem just takes the same title. It's called America. America, are you not my baby? Brown and learning my language? Aren't you crawling towards my feet every day? You know love, if nothing else, or at least I tell myself that. America, you are all grown up, but to me, you are still my baby, because if you are not, and this, you have to be. I pretend you're a baby, barely knowing your hands, scared you'll burn yourself, keeping you away from fire. Baby, don't you drool words like bootstrap and reverse? Don't they drip down both sides of your mouths? You're a fat little baby, stomping around on my carpet in my house that every day you nearly tear down, and every day I work so hard to keep for us. America, aren't you my baby? Aren't you what I made when someone tore half of me out and filled me with half of them? Isn't your breath someone else's burden? Baby, aren't you done being baby? Aren't you done crying your own name? America, baby, aren't you my baby? Don't you need part of my body always in your mouth? Thank you. Thank you. So I got really sad for like a year. I wrote a bunch of sad poems and I never really showed anybody, and I ended up publishing one, which I don't feel bad about anymore. So I'm gonna read it to you guys. That's cool. Yeah, this is something you need to know. It's called, the title is a line from a poem by Eduardo Corral, and it's called "A Heart Can Be Broken Only Once, Like a Window." I miss things, but I don't say it anymore. My palms are turned down against gusts taking themselves away. I listen to wild parrots while I run between sycamores in the park. I walk around uncomfortable in my jeans and wonder if the holes were something I've made. I think about some things so I don't think about other things. Pizza, poetry, Neosporin. I eat my fried eggs out of a bowl shaped like a man's hands. The thin gold rings on his fingers are still mine. I have myself to remind me of my own love, but that's all. I tie tiny triangles of glass to string, wear it around my neck, and some say it's pretty. When my mother doesn't recognize the jewelry adorning me, hoping, she asks if it's new. And even though I'm Mexican, feel deeply, and joke dark, God still owes me a drink for every time the woman I should be has died. I no longer mean it when I say please. Sometimes words belong between certain people, and neither one is you. Today, I feel like telling jokes instead of pretending to write good songs, and I'm angry with the word should. I think about words so I don't think about loss or all the feathers left on my porch. I want to open the front door and see a clean bird waiting for me on the doormat like I'm Snow White, even if it has rusted forks for wings. I once heard that the world breaks everyone, and afterwards, many are stronger in the broken places. I wish a different woman would wake up inside of me. Thank you. All right. So I'm gonna read you guys another poem about my mom. So my dad was picked, crops when he was growing up too, to get through college and summer and all, buy clothes for school. And so he picked peaches, and he is really traumatized and he can't stand peaches. So he doesn't it's not like he doesn't let us, he's not like some crazy dad, but he doesn't like to have peaches in the house, like he never did. So, and the shitty part about that is that peaches are my mom's favorite fruit. So like, I remember one time she bought some and she hid them in the little drawer, the crisper drawer, and she put like a bunch of like cilantro over it. And my dad found them and threw them away. But they never talked about it. And my mom was like, I know your dad threw them away, and I don't want to ask him because it's going to fuck him up. Be like, I don't know if I should do, And so like, I never ate a peach. Like, I never, till this day, I've had a peach now, like the inside, but I've never bitten the outside. And I always, when you've never had something, you tell people you don't like it because you just never had it. I don't know. So I did that, basically been doing that my whole life. And so this poem's kind of about peaches, and it's kind of about my mom. It's called Lies I Tell. A woman has a window in her face. That is the truth. I look like my mother. That is the truth. I want to tell you things I do not know about myself. That is the truth. I'm ashamed walking in a woman's body. That is the truth. I wish to take back everything I say. That is the truth. A window can be a mirror. It can also be a door. That is the truth. As a girl, my mother slept in a shack with no windows and one door. That is the truth. We often use a mother's hands, my grandma would slam windows. That is the truth. A mother's hands are more strong than God. That is the truth. We often use fruit to describe a bruise, like plum or blackberry. That is the truth. My mother's window blackberried. That is the truth. My mother's door peached. That is the truth. Her favorite fruit is a peach. That is the truth. Never have I bitten into a peach. That is the truth. My father did not let them in our house. That is the truth. We had 3 doors and 9 windows in our house. That is the truth. What burrows is the fuzz, he said. That is the truth. The worst things last on the skin. That is the truth. Not all windows open. That is the truth. One night, I see my father crying in the yard, head in his hands. That is the truth. I make things up I want for myself. That is the truth. Thank you. I'm going to read, I kind of was doing an experiment the other day. I was telling my students to make a glossary, just experimenting with different forms and using things like reports, like job applications as new forms for poetry. It's really cool, actually. So someone made glossaries. So I'm just going to read this one to you guys I made. It's called Rape Dream Glossary. You know what? Sorry, I just had an idea. Well, I'm going to read it. It's almost like a contrapuntal poem where there's 2 columns. So I'm going to try reading it 1, 2, and then 3. Let's see what happens. Rape Dream Glossary. Belly full with a flock of birds, body, hands around my neck, summer, the corner of a red brick wall, the sound of no one coming, my pleas, sunlight, sex, white walls. You are so beautiful. The fear of children, elongated parcel, early stages of love. We do not remember everything. Denial, disgust for the muscle of thighs. I do not expect anymore. Water reversing out my own throat, hiding each image from your father and brother. How common, impossible. Belly full with a flock of birds, the fear of children. Body, elongated parcel. Hands around my neck, early stages of love. Summer, we do not remember everything. The corner of a red brick wall, denial, disgust for the muscle of thighs, the sound of no one coming. I do not expect anymore. The sound of my pleas, water reversing out my own throat. Sunlight, hiding each image from your father and brother. Sex, white walls, how common. You are so beautiful, impossible. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. Thank you. I'm gonna read a few more for you guys. No explanation needed. This one's called One True Thing. How much does it matter if I manage to say one true thing about my life? I wore white cowboy boots to the park on the rich side of town. My brother calls to say he's passing through, but does not stop. My younger sister does not live here, but I don't need her approval. My mother lights a candle before getting drunk with the dead. What if I say I fell in love with a man who laughs from inside his father's suicide? That if he came back sober, I'd unhinge my body like a snake's jaw, separating myself from myself to fit someone who loves me in. Thank you. Thank you, guys. This one's called Self-Portrait as Hands Opening a Letter. I opened the letter on the dining table, addressed to my name from a year I don't remember. I must answer. I opened the window to a pack of trumpets. I'm living in LA and am the daughter of a woman I cannot forgive. I open and the pots fell out of the cupboards. I open, I spill the juice of an orange grown on my father's tree. I tear apart. I am guilty of everything every woman I'm supposed to be has committed. The hand on the letter's seal is mine on my mother's flat cheek. My mother's cheek is a mirror I refuse to look into. Thank you. All right, I read two more. This one was kind of an experiment too. I just took like conjunctions and put them on one side and then associated on the other side. So it's called Love Poem. Before, men left over and over. This portrait as lines that once existed. Since the father returned to the house, across. That rooted the face I find in the mirror of my craving, even if the women in my family do not dream, because desire is not a naturally occurring phenomenon if at least one Chicano is in love. But the boundaries of my body scatter like the edges of an overused map, the soul, a romantic cockroach, searching until, however, Thank you. And I'm going to read one that's not devastating. It's called, it's after another poet, Cesar Vallejo. And his is called A Man Walks By with a Baguette on His Shoulder. But mine's called A Woman Walks By with a Ghost on Her Shoulder. Here it goes. Sorry. I just want to thank Marcia and Phil for inviting me, Lisa for all her work, you guys for coming tonight. Can we please give the host a round of applause? I met Phil and Marcia like 5 years ago now, and it's just like connected. You guys know if you know them. You know, and I'm just really grateful for you guys. So, a woman walks by with a ghost on her shoulder. A woman walks by with a ghost on her shoulder. Am I going to write after that about domestic pressures? Another sits in front of the ATM, kills a cockroach, misses her sister in Jalisco. How dare one speak about the American dream? Another has entered my hand with a beet smoothie or a bowl of menudo to speak then about the meaning of Latinx to my grandma at Christmas. An amputee walks by holding a silver leash attached to a shining terrier. Afterwards, I say nothing when my white boyfriend says he's only ever dated black women. A woman shakes, chokes, folds over on the sidewalk. Will it ever be possible to be just one person? Another searches the trash can for plastic and aluminum. How to write after that about imposter syndrome. A busboy slips in the kitchen, cracks his spine, no longer practices kissing his own hand. To explain then to students about DeBoe's double consciousness. A publisher prints another collection about white experience. With what face to teach the diversity seminar at the State College? A homeless woman lies under an overpass, eyes open. To speak after that about the artistic courage of political murals. A woman goes to her son's funeral, sobbing. How then to apply for tenure at the university? A cop points a gun into a child's face. How dare I discuss abortion out loud? A ghost passes by, speaking aloud their to-do list. I talk too much. That's what the men have always said. Thank you.